violence against school workers.
Congress reaches a deal to be able to pay America's debts. I'm Deborah Alfarone on Capitol Hill with the battle behind increasing the nation's debt limit.
Also, how a decision to air out smelly sneakers led this tennis star to Instagram pleading for help.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Justice Department takes a stance against school board violence. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, Attorney General Merrick Garland is directing the FBI and U.S. attorneys to meet with federal, state, and local law enforcement to address the increasing threats targeting school board members, teachers, and other employees in our nation's public schools. Last week, the National School Boards Association asked President Biden for federal assistance to investigate and stop threats made over policies, including mask mandates. The association has documented more than 20 instances of threats, harassment, disruption, and acts of intimidation. Garland says the Justice Department will use its authority and resources to discourage the threats and prosecute when appropriate. Pfizer is asking the FDA for emergency use authorization for its vaccine for children ages 5 to 12. The latest data from the American Academy of Pediatrics shows children make up more than a quarter of new COVID cases nationwide. Less than half of eligible kids are fully vaccinated. Some state officials say schools that require masks are breaking the law. In Florida, where the governor has blocked mask mandates, the Department of Education meets today to consider possible punishment for districts that enforce them. Pitt State University officials report no new COVID-19 cases over the past week. They recently tested 27 symptomatic students, and none of them tested positive. In the same period, no faculty or staff members reported an infection. Last week, there was only one new positive case. Well, the temps are headed up just in time for the weekend. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at the forecast.
Far cry here at the noon hour from where we were this morning. That is for sure. We've got nothing but beautiful blue skies and a whole bunch of sunshine. We've had a little cloud cover creep in there from central Missouri, but the nice thing is it kept all the little spots of rain, and that's all that amounted to. Really on the east side of Rolla, headed toward I-44 up St. Louis. So as we look at our temperatures right now, remember, it was the east side that was warmer than the west side this morning, but because of that cloud cover, we've done a 180, and so 71 being the dominant number in Nevada, Lamar, and Carthage. Compare that to 76 in Neodesha and 77 in Independence. Coming up here in just a little bit, we're going to dive down into the deep southeast because that rain that you do see, while it doesn't look too impressive, has actually become deadly as they have massive flooding through Alabama that will now spread into Georgia, and that is reflected on the severe thunderstorm risk map as well, as we see that right there along those coastal areas. Here in the 4 states for the afternoon, we'll certainly throw up some 80s, especially out west, where we'll probably see about an 82 or an 83 before it's all said and done. And as Tanya alluded to, then we get ready for a whole bunch of abnormal October heat, waking up tomorrow in the 60s. Get working tomorrow toward the 90-degree mark. And then on Saturday, why stop there? Let's go ahead and challenge some records while we're at it. We'll talk about those records here coming up in just a little bit, Tanya. We need a couple more degrees according to what the 7-day forecast says, but we're going to be very, very close.
Very close, that's for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Congress is on the verge of getting out of its own way and helping the country avoid a financial disaster. Senate vote is expected soon on raising the debt limit to avoid defaulting on loans. The country was set to run out of money to pay its debt as of October 18th. Deborah Alfarone has more details from Capitol Hill.
Senate Republicans and Democrats have struck a compromise to raise the debt limit, at least temporarily.
We have reached agreement to extend the debt ceiling through early December, and it's our hope that we can get this done as soon as today.
Negotiations began after Minority Leader Mitch McConnell released a statement Wednesday saying his party would temporarily give up its objections, allowing Democrats to raise the ceiling into December.
Republican and Democratic members and staff negotiated through the night in good faith. The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis.
The extension means we could be right back here in 2 months unless Democrats find a way to extend it further on their own. Democrats could fold an extension of the debt limit into a multi-trillion-dollar social spending package if they can find a compromise that everyone in their party can support.
48 out of 50 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus support the bill, and 210 members, about 96% of the House Democratic Caucus, support the bill. And by the way, the President of the United States supports the bill.
Senators Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona and Joe Manchin of West Virginia are the holdouts citing concerns over the price tag. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Republicans say they will support a long-term extension of the debt limit if Democrats stop trying to pass the spending bill through a Senate tool called reconciliation. That tool allows Democrats to pass budget bills with a simple majority instead of needing 60 votes to clear filibusters. But to do that, they need the votes of all 50 Democratic senators in their caucus. Texas's abortion law, the most restrictive in the U.S., is suspended. Senate Bill 8 bans abortions as early as 6 weeks before most women even know they're pregnant. And it allows private citizens to sue people who help patients get an abortion. U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman sided with the Department of Justice in a 113-page ruling. He wrote, quote, "From the moment SB 8 went into effect, women have been unlawfully prevented from exercising control over their lives in ways that are protected by the Constitution," end quote. The state of Texas plans to appeal the ruling. Governor Greg Abbott signed the bill into law back in May. It went into effect last month. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, it's a double fault for tennis champ Andy Murray when both his sneakers and the wedding ring attached to them go missing. And later, we're making the perfect pick-me-up snack, Java Nuts, in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. British tennis star Andy Murray is getting no love from his wife after losing his wedding ring in an embarrassing mishap with his sneakers. CBS's Tina Kraus is in London with the story.
It wasn't Andy Murray's finest performance. In fact, the tennis champ gave it a thumbs down on Instagram, calling himself an idiot as he told fans about his stolen wedding ring.
Needless to say, I'm in the bad books at home, so I want to try and find it. So if anyone can share this.
After Murray tied the knot back in 2015, he started tying his wedding band to his shoelaces whenever he played on the court. The ring double fault came during a tournament in California this week when he needed somewhere to air out his smelly sneakers.
I have no balcony in my room and didn't want to leave them in my room because it'd stink the room out. So I thought, I'm going to leave the shoes underneath the car.
The next morning, they were gone, and so was his ring. The Scottish star athlete's story has stirred up a storm on social media. Big shoe! With one Scot joking, "Is this shoe yours?" A jeweler even offered to send Murray a new wedding band to help him ace the apology to his wife.
Oh no.
Murray hopes being a good sport about the slip-up will give him some advantage to eventually recover the ring. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Wish him the best. Murray says he did find another pair of shoes to play in at a local sports shop, but his wedding band is sentimental and much harder to replace. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Ready to go nuts for a snack that'll perk you up? We have it just in time for the holidays, and ooh, it's so good.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Even with the cloud cover that we have over Television City, it was nice that sun, once it got up there, able to burn that fog off quickly. I know this morning was a little bit of a mess getting to and fro every place as that fog was very widespread. Luckily, we'll be a little bit better by the time we get through tomorrow. While we're still expecting high humidity, should not have the pea soup like what we had today. Let's talk about our current conditions and where we currently, the computer's like, no, Michael, I want to talk 7-day forecast. I'm like, no, computer, you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk current conditions. I'll get to your 7-day forecast. She's a fickle mistress. What can I say? Her and I go back and forth all morning long. 72 degrees is where we stand. That wind shifting now coming in from the west. Won't be blustery though. We'll just go 5 to 10 miles today. Humidity is going to sink down to about 50%, so that will be delightful here by the time we get to about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. With that being said, I tell you what, that sunshine is going to take effect, especially when we talk about the southern and western portions of the 4 states, because that's where we're already seeing mid to high 70s. Check out the 78 being thrown up in Sedan and 77 in Independence, a far cry from the 68 where we're still holding on to in Stockton. And even though the eastern portion of the 4 states was warmer than the west this morning, really it was that cloud cover once the sun came up. And so when we talk about that 24-hour temperature change, look at that. 10 degrees warmer in Aurora, 8 degrees warmer in Cassville. Now that's not to say that we don't have our places in southeast Kansas that don't have a nice jump up as well, because while yesterday was overcast, we see Girard, Fort Scott, and Iola ranging anywhere from 6 to 8 degrees warmer than yesterday as well, though Chanute in there. And I love Chanute. I love the Allman family. They're wonderful out there in Chanute. Nationally speaking, jet stream, instead of that swirling counterclockwise motion, we've now got it pushing everything on the east side of the Mississippi. But what we need to talk about is dangerous conditions that have already become fatal in portions of Alabama. 13 inches of rain have already fallen in those places that we're seeing right now under flash flood warnings, with the flood warnings that extend from Alabama into Georgia. Alabama is considered right now, according to the Associated Press, a muddy floodwater swamp. That is the exact words that the writer used when writing the story. They have 4 people that have now died in the torrential flooding that they've had, and it's not going to get better anytime soon, because sitting off the coast of the Carolinas, that tropical system that never did become a named storm, but at the same point in time, it is going to drop a ton of rain. And so even though we don't see it affecting portions of whether it be Alabama or Georgia right now, as this thing continues to move inland, it's going to stall out that current system that's now over them. So that rain will continue to fall all the way into the weekend. Let's revert back home, talk about our weather conditions for not only today, but let's go ahead and push into the weekend, because while we get up into the low 80s today, we got some heat that's about to come out. Tomorrow morning, going to be absolutely delightful. I don't know how many even high 50s we'll see. We'll see an occasional one every now and then. But as we approach sunrise, I think we've got a good chance of everybody sticking in the 60s. And then as we push into Friday afternoon, that's where we're raising up into the high 80s, if not 90s. And for a high school football kickoff, it is going to be a warm one out there. Still hanging on to some 80s, especially out west, where it could be as warm as 85 at kickoff time. And then on Saturday, no, we're not slowing down. Now, here's the key thing on Saturday. At Joplin Regional Airport, we're going to have to get up to 94 in Chanute. We're not going to quite make it up to there. But Saturday afternoon, right in that time period right there, if we get up to 93 degrees, which it's not out of the realm of possibility, we will go ahead and break the record that'll date back for October the 9th to 1980. So Tanya, let's hope we don't have to break out Record Watch 2021 here.
No.
In the next 48 hours.
No, we're not breaking any records. We're gonna stay mild. Saturday's gonna drop back into the 80s.
Thunderstorm Sunday is going to cool us down to mild October temperatures for next week. Don't tell Tanya. You and me.
I like that part. That's fine. I can handle that.
That was between me and the audience.
It's not going to be hot. I'm not going to let it. I have a conversation yet to have today with Mother Nature. And we're going to be discussing you.
Oh. Tell her I got the dishes done.
That's good. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Tech Sergeant Dale Moose in the U.S. Air Force. The Purcell, Missouri native joined the 819th Civil Engineer Red Horse Unit in 1966. Moose fought in Vietnam, earning the Outstanding Unit Award, the Commendation Medal, and the Good Conduct Medal. To Tech Sergeant Dale Moose, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Love coffee? Today's easy snack recipe is sure to put a pep in your step. Howard shows us how to make Java nuts in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Over the next couple of months, there'll be plenty of family get-togethers, holiday bashes, and of course, lots of edible gift giving. With that in mind, we came up with a little something that's a must-have for the season. They're what we call Java nuts, and boy, are they good. To make them, we begin by mixing together some cinnamon, salt, and sugar. We'll set it aside, and in another bowl, beat together an egg white with some instant espresso powder until it's completely dissolved. And if you're wondering what espresso powder is, just think of it as a really strong instant coffee. You can find it right along with all the other coffee stuff in the market. Now we toss some walnut halves into the egg mixture before sprinkling on our cinnamon sugar. These get baked on a cookie sheet just long enough for the coating to set. After they're cooled, we loosen them from the tray and they're ready to nibble on. Let me tell you, these are addictive. Maybe make up a few bags of them as the perfect holiday gift. To get the easy recipe for our Java nuts, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a tasty, nutty way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Anybody gets bored this afternoon, they could help me with the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment that I have gone down this rabbit hole with and is driving me up a wall. That being said, we obviously have no weather concerns if I'm reading about Schrodinger's cat. 80 degrees, mostly sunny skies. Heat wave begins in earnest tomorrow, up around 90 degrees. Remember, the magic number for Saturday is going to be 93. If we get there, we break the record dating back to 1980 at Joplin Regional Airport.
I don't want to break any records.
I know you don't. And I'm hoping we
I know
don't.
you get excited about that, but no.
I'll be all right with this one. I'll be good with this.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, coming up tonight at 5, from McDonald's McPlant Burger to Chipotle's plant-based chorizo, meatless options are going mainstream. The food revolution in restaurants across the country has its roots in America's heartland, and it's powered by peas. We're going to take a closer look. Plus, hiring signs everywhere you look. We speak with a local employment agency about how they recruit and retain employees. And check out the expansion of the Sleep Center at Freeman Hospital. Join us for those stories and much more tonight on the KOAM News at 5.
I want to thank you all for joining us here on the KOAM News at noon. Tanya and I will see you again tomorrow morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right back here at 5 o'clock.